Hello and welcome to another video lesson from the IELTS coach. Today's lesson is aimed at helping students from Brazil or Portuguese speakers. I want to give some specific advice for students from this country because I tend to have quite a lot of students who follow me on YouTube or who choose my private IELTS lessons. A lot of my students, I would say more than 50%, are from Brazil. So I want to make a video specifically to help Portuguese speakers from Brazil improve their English speaking skills. So the first piece of advice that I have for my Brazilian students is to be careful with ED endings. This is the most common pronunciation mistake that Brazilians make, and it's almost the first thing that a native speaker notices when speaking with someone from Brazil. This is because in Portuguese, the ED is always pronounced in one way, and it's pronounced all the time. In English, there are three ways to pronounce the ED ending, so you need to be aware of that and not do it the same way every time. I do have a separate lesson on pronunciation of ED, and there are other worksheets and activities you can do online to help you know when to use the correct ED pronunciation. But my first tip, be aware that that's going to be a problem for you and start practicing using the correct ED endings. You have to learn them by heart. There's no trick. The next piece of advice for my Brazilian students might seem a bit strange, but my advice is to be confident, energetic, and friendly. I think this is strange advice because in general, Brazilians are very enthusiastic. One reason I love teaching them is compared to my Asian students, they are not very shy and reserved. They are enthusiastic. You've got to be careful not to be too excited and speak too quickly by doing that, but you've got to use your natural confidence and enthusiasm when speaking English. Don't change because it's a test. Use that enthusiasm. Brazilians generally are very friendly and confident. Keep that when you're doing the speaking test. Don't go over the top. Don't be too fast and too excited, but don't be too shy or reserved. So be confident and enthusiastic, but also realize it is a test. You have to communicate clearly. So use the natural confidence, energy, and friendliness that I find most of my Brazilian students have. The next tip is to find a way to meet native English speakers. The most common problem that my Brazilian students tell me is that they're living in Brazil and it is hard to speak with native speakers. It is hard to get that practice with either listening and speaking with native speakers. So find a way, do something, go online, use the site like italki or Cambly, use a website where you can meet native speakers, perhaps exchange language, or just have general conversation practice. Also, in Brazil, are there areas in your town or city where foreigners go, where tourists visit? Go there, help them out, talk to them, get some kind of practice. It can be difficult, but it's a requirement in order to improve. If you can't do that, listen to as many native speakers as you can on YouTube. Listen to them. The more you listen, the more your pronunciation improves. And my final piece of advice for Brazilian students for the speaking exam in IELTS is to not add Portuguese words to your English. I guess this also applies to the writing exam. It's reasonably common for students to be speaking and to be doing really well, and then they will add a word like, oh, that's a bit unusual. They've added the Portuguese word instead of the English. They may seem similar. It may seem much more common in Portuguese. You may even think, oh, it's the same word in English, but it's not. So be careful that you're not borrowing words from Portuguese and using them when you speak English. It tends to happen with my Brazilian students much more than with students from other countries. It's a common thing for language learners to do. Oh, I don't know this word in English. Naturally, I will use it from my native language. It happens quite a lot. It tends to happen more with my Brazilian students. So be aware that's a common mistake for people from Brazil. Try to avoid it. Check that the word is different in English, or it may even be very similar, different spelling or different pronunciation, but the meaning might be the same. make sure you get that difference in pronunciation or spelling correct when doing the writing or speaking tests. So those are 4 tips for my Brazilian students. If you are from Brazil and you're watching this channel, thank you. I do appreciate my students from all different countries. Please like and share this video. If you have any questions or comments about this advice, please leave a comment below. And I hope you enjoy more of my IELTS video lessons. Thank you for watching and goodbye.